How's it going, everybody? I wanted to knock out a quick tech support Thursday. Thursday this week is going to be Thanksgiving, so I am not going to be posting anything that day, obviously. I'll be busy with other things. So I figured I am on some time off from work, so I figured I would knock this thing out and get on with some studying. So we're going to pick up where I believe we left off with, which was Narberg's Boot Camp. So the next topic here, or the next question or post. I didn't know you had an older CCNP SP course with INE, which was absolutely beautiful. The troubleshooting and showing us how to fix the issues was awesome. Thank you so much. Only downside is you didn't explain your thinking process, which was disappointing for us. It happens. The more I get into networking roles, the more disappointed I become. I recently discovered there is a whole set of TAC level commands that I literally knew nothing about. It was literally like a whole new module or technology. This is true. If you call TAC, there's usually a lot of internal stuff they have access to that you and I never get to see. Favorite SP topic. Personally, I'm fascinated by carrier supporting carrier, and secondly by intranet service to customers, then allowing them to access the internet simultaneously. Okay. Favorite SP topic. I think it's a toss-up between, well, it was Layer 2 VPN. I've got a pretty solid understanding of how that works now. Right now I am currently working through multicast VPN, and I will share a little bit with you on no, I don't want to download that. Where am I? Oh, I need to pull up an Excel spreadsheet. I'll share my tracker with you guys real quick. So what I've been doing, as for those of you that do know, I've got this CCIE SP topic tracker that I created. And the goal of this tracker is to help me stay on track with my SP studies. And it gives me a red notes taken, yes, lab notes taken, yes, and then top of my head, yes. So can I do it? Yes, I put in there. Could I go through it a couple more times? Yes, but I do. I try to do my best taking really thorough notes, so that when I need to refer back to my notes, that the notes are thorough. Right. So I was doing profile 1 yesterday, which is MLDP, and the goal is to do both default and data MDT, so both the default MDT, which is the multi-point to multi-point tree, so every PE can talk to every other PE, and then that's a lot of signaling, and then the data MDT is a subset of those PE routers need to talk to each other for more high bandwidth flows, things like that. So that has been the thing that I've been going through lately, and as I'm going through the section, and I'm using Nick Russo, a combination of Nick Russo's book and Andrew Ohanian's online workbook to go through them. And then I'm going through and I'm writing my own. I've got my own diagram, I've got my own configurations that I'm going through, and I'm putting them into my own book, and I plan on doing actual recorded content on it. So that's where that sits right now. And so as I progress through, I'm hoping to get a couple of more profiles done today. I need to organize this because the profiles themselves, and I'll talk more about that here in just a minute, the profiles themselves are, there's 29 of them in total, so there's a lot. The sheer number of them scares people out of the gate, but when you break them down to how they're organized, if you organize them into the same type or similarity, you notice a trend, and you notice that the difference between the profiles is literally like one command. Like you're just changing how the operations will work. Changes the profile. Like, are you using BGP for custom multicast signaling, or are you using PIM? Things like that. So I have a bit more to dig into on it. If you guys are curious on that, there is, and I'll bring this over so you guys can see it. There are 2 profiles two, I should say, documents created by Cisco, and I will bring each one of them over real quick. So we have this one here, and we have this one here. One is for iOS, the other one is for XR. And if we look at the top here, you can Google configuring MVPN profiles within Cisco iOS, and it's got all the different profiles that are available. It also covers like how do you get them all stood up. So you got fast reroute, you got make before break for stuff like that, and then you have a bunch. So they're all ordered numerically, but the funny thing about it is if you look at it, profile 0, profile 3, and profile 11 are all PIM. So you can't tell that out of the gate by looking at it, but when you look at it, the only thing that's changing between it, and I'll show you on profile 0, you are there. You've got the MDT for doing data MDTs, and then if you go down to profile 3, right here, profile 2 is not supported on iOS. It's only supported on XR because it's a partitioned MDT. If you look at profile 3, same config, you're adding auto discovery PIM. So you're using BGP auto discovery to do that, and then you change the from the MDT to the MVPN address family. And if we scroll down to profile 11, I'm going to go a deeper dive into this because there's a lot more to it than this. You've got profile 11, which is right here, where you're doing auto discovery PIM, but then you're also adding in using BGP for your seed multicast signaling. So you're not so your BGP update messages instead of. So if we look at profile 3 again, you'll notice that in profile 3 they're doing auto discovery PIM. So you have the BGP AD, and then if you want to do profile 11, you add in BGP overlay use BGP. So I'm going to go into that in more detail in the debugs. So you're, instead of using PIM register messages and stuff like that on the PEs, you're using BGP to do that. So that's how this comes into play. So really all you're doing between the profiles is just changing how things operate, and then you've got MLDP and so on and so forth. I'm going through the MLDP portion because I've done a lot of PIM in the past. I'm focusing on the things that I haven't touched on. And then you have the same thing with XR. XR's got more options. There's 29 because these three at the bottom, 27, 28, and 29, have to deal with segment routing. And you have to use XRv9K, and you have to use a path computation element in order for that to work. I have not actually covered these yet. That's been outside of the scope of what I've studied so far. But in my tracker, if we go down to the very bottom, I do have them listed. I just haven't gotten that far yet, and I will eventually though. So that is part of my process. So that is where that sits. So that's my current favorite topic right now. Can you talk about the position in ISP companies in the engineering implementation section, core planning engineer, if you know about it? I don't know much about it. I've never been a service provider core planning engineer, but if you think about it from a design perspective, it's from what I do understand, it's fairly straightforward, right? You've got you're looking at a lot of historical data. How quickly is the service provider growing? Do you have enough bandwidth to meet the needs of the businesses that you're supporting, so on and so forth. So it's a very common thing to see multi-100 gig connections, and you've got several of them. So some of them are bundled together, so you get, instead of 100 gig links between all of your devices, you potentially have 3 and 4, and you're port channeling, or you're doing some sort of ECMP routing over the top of those. Maybe you're going from 100 gig to 400 gig, or you're going from 400 to 800 gig, or maybe you're even doing terabit connectivity. So it depends on how big the service provider is. It depends on what the needs of the business are, so on and so forth. But you're looking at internet scale. In most cases, it's internet scale. where in the service provider has its own set of scales. Data centers are also scaling like that because you've got in the data centers that I worked in, I was working with no less than 100 gig in the backbone. So you would future proof your backbone. Like there was no possible way you'd run into a bottleneck in the core. I would engineer around those things. So stuff like that. If you were to have an SP related position, what would it be? PE, P, backbone, route reflector, and backbone. So these are basically all backbone. So the edge, the core, so on and so forth. Those are all backbone positions because the PE connects to the P router, the route reflectors connect to the P routers, so on and so forth. So they're all basically what you would refer to as CBO, core backbone operations. So in my early career, I would have wanted to be all backbone because it sounds cool to say backbone or the core, and you're building out the connectivity that everybody's going to use. That would have been a cool position. Now, Rob does not want to deal with any of that. Rob wants to learn how this stuff works and go from there. So beyond that, I do not see myself ever going back into an operations position where I'm engineering or deploying. I might work in operations from a leadership perspective or an advisory where I'm listening to where a customer wants to do and I'm guiding them based off of industry trend, stuff like that. So I talk to a lot of customers and I'm always trying to move the needle forward on my own technical understanding. So, but I'm also not the only guy in the company that I work for that knows what they're talking about. And if I'm not 100% sure how to attack something, I'm always able to tap into a team of really smart dudes that have a lot of experience. And I can be like, okay, this is the situation I have. This is what I proposed. What do you guys think? And a lot of times they're in agreement with me, or they might add this, and I take down notes, and I'm like, okay, I took this back to my team. This is the suggestions they came up with. So that's what I prefer to do, things like that, and be part of a very a strong technical team. And I'd rather be in that type of a position than otherwise. Can we get a glimpse of your last SP lab you were practicing? Yeah, I suppose. Is it pulled up? Yeah, so this is the one I'm currently working on. This is for multicast. And it's actually going to be a combination of multicast, QoS. What else was I going to throw in here? I was going to dive into MPLS traffic engineering as well with provider edge to P TE tunnels, P to P TE tunnels, and then P to PE TE tunnels. That's something that I haven't tested in a while. But like I mentioned, I'm going through Nick Russo's book, and I'm learning a lot from that and labbing things out as he did, and going through all those details because I'm not trying to recreate the book because the book has already been written. I'm trying to go through it on my own, come up with diagrams. So this would be a development topology that I've got, so on and so forth. So it is what it is. So it's been a lot of fun. I'm actually enjoying the process, but then again, I'm doing a lot of packet walks, which is what my ultimate goal is for the Cisco Service Provider Workbook, is to be a bunch of getting a lot of complicated stuff working into a lot of packet walks, because the packet walk helps me understand how the traffic is flowing at the end of the day. So that's where that comes into play. So I enjoy this process, and this is the current lab I'm working on. There's other labs that I'm working on as well, but this is the type of stuff that I'll dig into for hours, because my goal, like I've mentioned in the past, is to everything in this tracker I need to go through, and there's still quite a bit that I haven't gone through. Like all the multicast stuff will be done probably the next week or two. All of this EVPN stuff I have I have some EVPN stuff that I have yet to go through, and I had to dial that up. And then I have a bunch of TE stuff that I have to go deal with, and I haven't dealt with, like tunnel mesh. I've done it before, but it wouldn't hurt to go through it again. Do I know off the top of my head? I could fudge my way through it, but that's not an honest assessment of my current situation. But then you have all these different TE tunnel stitching, and then going through class-based and policy-based tunnel selection, and being able to do policing and shaping and all the different diffserv TE options and stuff like that. I just need to take the time to go through them. That's simply what it is. But the vast majority of this other stuff, and this is all a bunch of advanced BGP stuff that I haven't touched in a really long time, and like with FlowSpec, never even touched it. So I'm slowly working my way through all this stuff. My end goal is to have, off the top of my head, fully populated, and I'm taking notes on all these things, so eventually these will all be individual labs in the Service Provider Workbook, and then there will be a video series that follows along with that. The video series will cover the CCIE level topics, so I mean, it'll cover the CCA blueprint, which will include CCNP Service Provider. So that's what I'm planning on doing, but it's going to take me some time to get there. I'm in no hurry. That my plan right now is to take whatever time I need to learn this material, understand it, so that I can then record a bunch of content on it, and then everybody will want to go to my channel on YouTube for the Service Provider stuff. So that's the plan as of right now. And right now I'm just over 50% off the top of my head. I'm working my way towards 70%. So I'm always going to be ahead on the red lab notes section, because it's easy to read and lab off the top of my head. It's going to probably take a couple of evolutions. That's okay though. There's always a learning process. So there's that. Let's get back over here. Last question before we kill it for the day. Why do ISPs choose to distribute some subnets to the customer? I read that question already. I think you repeated your question. Okay, next one up. Can you please explain the term, I think I answered this last time, local internet versus direct breakout. Can you explain the terms of local breakout or direct breakout that are sometimes used by service providers in regards to customer traffic? Simply meaning that there's no backhaul of your internet traffic from the location that it's being generated from back over the WAN, either IPsec VPN or private transport MPLS or SD-WAN, and then brought back to a main location, like a centralized internet drain in a data center, and then out at the internet from there. Local internet breakout means it's happening at the location and going from there. So it's supposed to improve your user experience for things like SaaS applications, Office 365, whether it's Azure, AWS connectivity, things like that. I saw multiple large-scale SPs that have PE2C connections with an IPsec tunnel and have the BGP protocol pass through the tunnel. This is not the best practice, I believe. Care to comment on this and share your technical point of view? PE2C connection with IPsec tunnel and have BGP protocol pass through it. I have not actually seen that. Is it possible to do that? Yeah, it probably is. What you're describing is similar to how you would do with OSPF v3 and you're doing encryption, doing a peering, basically the same thing. Could you set that up and do BGP over the top of it? Yeah, you could. It'd be no different than doing, your IPsec tunnel would actually have a GRE tunnel. It'd be a GRE over IPsec to handle the back and forth communication, because you can't, if you're doing a crypto map based VPN, you can't route over that, meaning you can't run a dynamic routing protocol because there's no tie back to a IP address, right? You're coming out the main interface of where the traffic is hitting, so you can't do routing with a crypto map. right? That's why they have access lists. That's why it's considered a policy-based VPN and not a route-based VPN. A route-based VPN is going to be a tunnel of some type, whether it's a VTI or it's going to be a GRE over IPsec, and you stand up a GRE tunnel, you set up some encryption, you stand up the GRE over IPsec connection between the PE and the CE, and then on that point-to-point peering, whatever that /30 or 24, whatever it is that you're doing, you would run BGP over the top of that. So you would do your neighbor command, and then you run BGP to get that, and then you would do your route advertisements that way. So it would be a VRF-aware IPsec tunnel on the PE side, which is completely doable, and then you would do just a normal global routing table or default VRF peering that way. I've done BGP over DNB IPsec before. That's easy to do. So that's what that's how I would handle that. I have not considered that, but you know what I'll do? Where is it in here? Layer 3 VPN. One second here. BGP site of origin. It's a little unorthodox, but I will go ahead and insert. So we'll do MPLS L3 VPN PE to CE BGP routing with GRE. We'll do GRE over IPsec and do that. So now I just added, what does that put me at? That puts me at 311. I just need to update my tracking here. So that puts me at 311, and I need to bump this to 310. And 310. So I'll throw that in. That wasn't part of my testing, but that's okay. I will throw that in because you asked and cover that as another topic and go from there. So you guys can thank J.K. Rowell for throwing that out there. So that is as far as, excuse me. Did I lose myself? Okay, this is where I stopped. So that's where I'm going to pause this week. I'm at 20 minutes. I don't want to go any further than that. I'm going to get back after the studying. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, feedback, please throw that down below. If you haven't already done so, please like, share, and subscribe. And I will catch, there's going to be a link in the description for the Discord and for the workbooks. If you guys are interested in getting access to the Enterprise Workbook, please go ahead and download the demo. If you want to go buy it, there's a link to Patreon to buy it. I'll catch all of you in the next one. Happy Thanksgiving to any of you that are watching this, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Have a good one, everybody.